Hello, hello. Hey, hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hey, hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hey, hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hey, hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hey, hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hey, hello, hello. Hey, my balancing beings, it's your Soul Oracle Robyn, and I'm back to you with another divinely channeled message. I hope that each of you are doing well. If this is your first time here, welcome, and I hope that you're able to join the family of balancing beings as we continue to stay in the flow. To all of my returning viewers as well as our oldest subscribers, if you could direct everybody to discussion and engaging with the channel, it truly helps us to reach the algorithm, and also people who will be more attuned to the energy that we're putting out. It's positive, it's enlightening, and I'd love to grow this channel as much as possible. Again, my name is Robyn. I am a soul oracle, a divine messenger, a psychic medium, as well as a seer. And I'm so excited to be back in your energetic presence. If you have not looked at our videos prior to this one, please go back through all of the divinely channeled messages as well as shared experiences and tarot readings that I have available. So, as you can probably tell in the title, we're going to be talking about a channel message that is really centered around freedom as it relates to the climate right now, the recent events from the award show that is equivalent to the Oscars, BAFTA, that was hosted in the UK by the organization BCC. And before we get into that channel message, the Most High has been giving me freedom as a channel message, and I have been really trying to wrap my head around this message because channeling freedom came in three separate ways. But then after the BAFTA event, I was able to round out this message, and I wanted to bring it to you. It's really unfortunate that regardless if you're doing great things in this lifetime, if you're accomplishing things, if you are really resilient, and regardless of the adversity that is up against you, some people just cannot deal with the fact that you are in a happy state of being, that you're growing, and that you're doing that exponentially. You're developing consistently. With regard to the BAFTA event, and regardless of John Dickerson, I believe his name is John Dickerson, regardless of who this individual is that offended Delroy Lindo as well as Michael B. Jordan while delivering the award, regardless of who this individual is, whether he has Tourette syndrome or not, my own thought process is that his thoughts were not involuntary. And just like those two men, those two black men, those two melanated men got up on the stage and were exposed to the offensive language and behavior of John, being called the N-word, I don't believe that John saw any of the other individuals who were giving out awards and became a parrot and started hollering, "Polly want a cracker." Those men are men, regardless of what complexion, what race they are, what ethnicity. Those men are men who, like people in our history, the American Indians, the indigenous, the quote-unquote African American, shoot, the majority of this world, the people of color, those men are fathers and uncles and brothers. They're cousins. They're friends of friends. They're contributors to American film and entertainment. They're contributors to global art. And they were disrespected. So I'm not really going to go into my thoughts aside from what I've already disclosed, but the channel messaging came before the actual BAFTA Awards aired. And this message may be significant for people who are familiar with Bebe's Kids and the song Freedom. And I might just put a clip in here. You may be familiar with the song by Deneice Williams, Free. And the famous quote from Forrest Gump, where Jenny, one of the main characters and girlfriend of Forrest Gump, who had been abused, was outside of her father's house. And from a child, she always wished that due to the abuse that she endured by her father, that she would one day be free. And that quote was, "Dear God, make me a bird so I can fly far, far, far away from here. Dear God, make me a bird so I can fly far, far, far away from here." If you're familiar with Deneice Williams, R&B and soul artist, her song, "And I just got to be me, free, free. And I just got to be me, yeah, free, free." The Bebe's Kids song Freedom. So I've got an excerpt that I had pulled up with regard to it. So Bebe's Kids came out when I was 2 years old. That was in 1992. And the story was about these kids who were being raised by a single mother in low-income housing. And their mother's friend asked that they be, babysat by one of her friends from work. And Bebe's friend only had one child, but she didn't live in low-income housing. And she started to date this guy who was played in the illustration by deceased comedian that you may know of, very, very popular, Robin Harris. At this point in the film, the kids had already been at Fun World being kids, but they were rambunctious and they weren't really well controlled. Bebe had given these children the stereotypical label by not necessarily raising them with any sort of values intact as much as Bebe's friend had for her son, who was structured and smart according to textbooks. Bebe's kids were smart, but they weren't as disciplined as her friend's child. And her friend's child's name was Leon, but there was the youngest, who was named Pee Wee. Then you had the oldest, who was LaShawn. And then you had Khalil, who was the middle son. Even though these children didn't have as much guidance as Leon did, and they didn't know as much love as Leon did, it doesn't mean that they weren't loving children. When the song Freedom comes up, freedom, freedom, yeah, oh, freedom. Khalil has the opportunity to defend himself in the case where the people who have been following him, which are kind of symbiotic of the government, the FBI, he's able to highlight some of the film's underlying commentary on how poor environments and absent parents shape the behavior of children. In the end, the performance wins the kids their freedom and earns Leon, their counterparts, respect. This song allows Leon to use his own skills of rap to argue for the kids' rights to be free despite their disruptive behavior throughout the movie. And there are versions of the Terminator, Abraham Lincoln, and Richard Nixon. Now, why all of this is so important to me is that Delroy Lindo, as well as Michael B. Jordan, and even some of you, have the freedom every day to not remain stoic and to lose all of your sensibility and your energy to react when people do something against you. Balancing beings, it's so unfair the way that this life is set up, and how so many people are able to physically get away with so many things. But you better know that the divine is always, always, always going to pay what is due to those who wrong others. This channeling started to take place over 3 weeks ago, and on February the 26th, I was reading my daily Stoic, which is a daily meditation for every day of the year. There's an excerpt here for the 26th called "To Each His Own." Another has done me wrong, let him see to it. He has his own tendencies and his own affairs. What I have now is what the common nature has willed. And what I endeavor to accomplish now is what my nature wills. And this excerpt is by Marcus Aurelius from Meditations, chapter 5 and 25. The next part of this message relates that Abraham Lincoln occasionally got fuming mad with a subordinate, one of his generals, even a friend. Rather than taking it out on that person directly, he'd write a long letter outlining his case, why they were wrong and what he wanted them to know. Then Lincoln would fold it up, put the letter in the desk drawer, and never send it. Many of these letters survive only by chance. He knew, as the former emperor of Rome knew, that it's easy to fight back. It's tempting to give them a piece of your mind, but you almost always end up with regret. You almost always wish you hadn't sent the letter. Think of the last time you flew off the handle. What was the outcome? Was there any benefit? And unfortunately, balancing beings, in the world that we live in, even in times where you are amongst the masses, which Delroy Lindo and Michael B. Jordan were on the night of BAFTA presenting an award. Delroy Lindo has now responded to the event weeks later, and you can find this on Google, asking, did I just hear what I heard? But this question is something that he asked mentally. And as we're viewing both him and Michael B. Jordan on stage, similar to lots of figures in this book that I read on a regular basis, and even me myself, I come across stoically. These men did not give a reaction. They did not give a response to what was happening in real time. Their faces didn't even indicate that they had some sort of reaction, while so much hate and disdain, as well as negative energy, was projected onto them, while this man who, quote unquote, deals with Tourette is said to have involuntarily called these two men of dignity the N-word. Some of you are dealing with this type of thing day to day, where people are rage baiting you and you're being mistreated, you're being abused, and you're about ready to blow a top. So many people throughout American history, melanated people, black people, whatever you want to call them, have been stricken with the opportunity to just fly off the handle, react, to retaliate. And most people in that history were not able to react the way that they wanted to react, because for one, they were trying to maintain their dignity. Number two, they were being upheld in reacting by constructs that were put on us as a people, that we could not be reactionary, or we would be jailed, we would be locked up, we would be imprisoned, and that evoked fear. And just like those people, symbiotically, these two men have been representatives of not only those who contribute to American culture that still is being developed, but they've had to see other people receive backlash for having defended themselves. And to be honest with you, as firecracker hot as I am today about this whole situation, I'm sure that those two men are dealing with some internal and external struggles as it relates to how this whole thing has played out. To remain stoic in a situation is one of the most hard things to do, especially as it relates to someone having the ability to, sorry about that, guys. Somebody having the ability to cause your energy to fluctuate even in the midst of you having to get a job done. I was looking at a clip about TV actress Maya Campbell, who suffered from addiction throughout her career, but she was well known in the industry, and she was featured on an episode of the podcast 85. I believe it's 85 South, with a couple of members of the old Wild 'N Out. But what she related in this message was that at the time of her going into rehabilitation on this occasion, she had to put things on the back burner to focus on recovery and healing, regardless if it was related to her career, if it was related to any relationship that she felt strongly about, any connection that would keep her away from recovery, she had to put on the back burner. And while things may be going awry in your life due to people doing bad unto you, similar to the situation with Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo, who are wonderful classics in our industries. They are true representatives for our communities and how we're supposed to uphold our own beliefs with class and with dignity, and to decide to respond or not is what they chose to do on that night, regardless of how they felt internally. I have to commend these guys for having dignity. And to be honest with you, everything that has transpired throughout their lifetime and before that, I'm sure that they have also had representatives that have shown them how to remain in a place of self-control. Everything is about perspective, and it's about your frequency. The way you react is going to garner some sort of consequence. But please know that because someone did something wrong to you, it doesn't mean that you're not supposed to have feelings about that thing. It doesn't mean that you can't take the time away from groups. And I know that it's going to be hard for these two individuals, especially as it relates to the time we're expected for these nominations to be decided and the awards to be presented on the night of the Oscars. These guys have been doing lots of work, lots of moving around the country and even internationally because of the recognition that they're receiving for the Sinners movie. But after all of this is complete, I wouldn't be surprised if both of these guys take their time before returning into groups where people are constantly trying to diminish who they are, the care that they deserve, their impact in their career fields, as well as their impact to people. They are truly, truly an inspiration. And I believe that John Davidson was planted in that environment to obstruct the nature of two men who clearly have dignity, respect, and love for not only themselves, but for other people. I do not think it was by chance at all that this individual, John Davidson, was able to think about the N-word, but involuntarily relate what he related to these men of dignity, Delroy Lindo, as well as Michael B. Jordan. I don't think that he involuntarily thought the N-word at all, due to the fact that every other individual who was there in that party at BAFTA, as well as the ones who presented on the stage that night, he never once related and asked. He never did become a parrot and ask, Polly want a cracker? But rather, he spewed what he thought and claimed his tick to be involuntary when he decided to throw the N-word. I don't believe that it was by chance that this happened, Balancing Beings. And I hope that this message reflects to someone today about their reactions and you having the freedom to think and feel the way that you want to. You have the freedom to retreat, and you also have the freedom to react or respond when you want to. You have the right to go and handle your recovery and your healing. Remember what we read here. It's tempting to give them a piece of your mind, but you almost always end up with regret. You almost always wish you hadn't sent the letter. Think of the last time you flew off the handle. What was the outcome? Was there any benefit? And I think that Michael B. Jordan, as well as Delroy Lindo, they casted the right message. But I hate that our community, the melanated community, the black community, is always having to keep their dignity regardless of what people throw at us. So as always, Balancing Beings, I love you no matter what you do. And it's important to me that you know you are free, 'cause I never want to make you change. For me, babe, don't change, squirrel. For me, babe, don't change, squirrel. For me, babe. I'll talk to you later. Peace.